All right. Well, welcome to the first episode of How It All Began. I'm really excited to get this podcast going. I'm even more excited to have my guest Nate Maris share his story with us today. And I'll tell you what. So Nate and I connected a few years ago. He sent me a probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 audio messages through Instagram. And that's how we started our friendship. And ever since then, man, we've been talking and sharing stories and, following each other's journeys and supporting each other. And just really excited that Nate could give us some time to come and share his story today. This podcast I want to dedicate to people sharing what it was for them that made that final connection, what allowed it to click for them to start their vegan journey. And Nate and I have some shared history of some the ways we were grown up, the way we were raised, hunting and fishing in our families, and that was stuff that was important to us. Important to our families, and now we're both vegan, and we're both on our journey and our path. And I love what Nate and his wife bring to not just this community, but what they bring to everyone's life. They're just positive people. They're putting out great content, great energy, and I really appreciate Nate joining us. So, Nate, welcome to How It All Began. How you doing?
I am doing excellent, my brother. Thank you so much for that intro. And I love the title of this podcast, How It All Began. So good.
So I wish I could lay claim to ownership of that, but one of my followers, when I had put out the idea that I was going to start a podcast, I think I said something about our vegan journey, and I have a screenshot. It's not someone I communicate with regularly. I have a screenshot of her name because I wanted to remember it, and she said, "How about how it all began?" And man, like I smiled, my eyes lit up, my heart was pumping. I'm like, that's it. So super excited about this.
Oh, it is so good. Yeah, that is the perfect title, man. Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm honored to have such a beautiful introduction and to be on for your very first podcast. I'm really excited for this podcast. Like you were saying there, we connected a few years back. It was actually Lissa's mom who was like, "You should check this vegan sheepdog out. You remind me a lot of him." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna check this guy out." And then that's when I shot you those messages because I just connected with you right away. One of the good old boys. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's been amazing watching you grow. Right, we're all growing. Everybody's growing, in a lot of ways, and the growth is amazing. There's, a lot of work to be done in a lot of ways. So I think that this platform here and you starting this, Chris, I'm really excited because this is going to be huge for sure for a lot of people peeking in and trying to recalibrate, kind of make sense of what is vegan.
That is that's a great question, and it's different for different folks. So you and your wife, we'll get into that part of the story here in a little bit, but you guys are raw vegans, which is a whole nother level of um, like it's almost like there's this pyramid of what veganism is, like junk food vegans at the bottom, and then you start going up the ladder and you get to whole food plant-based, then you get to raw, and then you get to alkaline, and it's like
Right.
there's so many different niches in this community, and I think it's going to take all of us to change the world. But I love what you guys are doing. I want to talk about your sprouts. I want to talk about what you guys some of the things that you guys put out there for everyone. But I'd like to start, if you would share with me, what was it that sparked for you? Like, what was that last thing that you're like, you know what? I'm done abusing animals. I'm done putting their bodies in my body. I'm done hunting. I'm done. What was it for you that really helped cement that you were going to start this journey?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I was one of those individuals who kind of went down the rabbit hole because I wanted to be healthy. I got really sick between 2011 and 2012, between Christmas and New Year's, that lag week, right? I was down for in bed for over a week, like really, really sick with the flu bug. And I started to binge watch different YouTubes, and I came across this YouTube, this documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. where this guy, Joe
Yeah.
Cross, comes from Australia. Yeah, you know the one, right? And, drives from New York to LA juicing the whole time. And from that was really what kind of brought veganism in a way kind of to the forefront of my algorithms on my YouTube, because I was watching plant-based stuff and juicing, and then I saw Forks Over Knives, right? So watched Forks Over Knives. Algorithms are still doing their job. Oh, here, check out Earthlings. So watched Earthlings, and really after watching Earthlings, then it was like, wow. Like, for one, I was working in the medical field at the time, and I could see that we definitely have a lot of problems. And then, of course, when you start to look at the data of what we're doing, with animal agriculture and clearing rainforests, like, how the heck are we even allowed to clear a rainforest to grow, feed, to graze cattle, that is basically
Yeah.
just adding to the detriment of our own health, which gets the pharmaceutical companies, because people don't want to change what they eat. It's really hard to change. It really, really is tricky, especially with how many options we have at every single corner. So, really, though, Earthlings, watching that and then understanding the health impacts of these choices, it was like, what am I doing? Like, if this is real,
Yeah.
this is definitely something I don't want to be a part of. And of course, as well as I know, you go hunting and you're not eating only your kill, right? The entire year. And even if so, it's still kind of, in a way, it can be, I'm at a loss for the word. It's just interesting. There's not enough to go around for everybody to do that. It's
I,
unsustainable.
yeah. And I think, from that aspect, I think, um, unless you're some indigenous person that lives in such a remote place, that literally there are not any other options for you. And that's how, you and your families are raised. That's one thing. But, all these people who talk about, oh, I'm a hunter and I kill all of my food. Man, you're still going to McDonald's. You're still going to a steakhouse. You're still don't give me that crap.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Like, yeah, if you're an indigenous tribe member, then yeah, you don't apply. But for all of us, domesticated countries, we have choices. We're very privileged in so many ways,
yes.
and it's just phenomenal what's happening. Like, we don't. This is never the way that, as much as we may have the appeal to ancestry and glamorize, romanticize the hunt and the kill, and giving back and having the spirit of the animal, and come into us as the people who are ingesting the flesh. All these different things, for sure. There's beautiful concepts and aspects there, but where we're at today's day and age, the sizes of these meals, you can go sit down and have a meal. Realistically, like, there's meals right here just around the block from us, just on the corner of where we live. We live downtown Las Vegas. There's a Heart Attack Grill, it's called. And you could easily put down a day's worth of calories for a man, which is around 2,500, unless you're working out or have a hard job. You should be eating a bit more, but
Yeah.
you can put down 2,500 to 3,000 calories in one meal there. So this is not the way that tribes did it.
No, and the interesting thing is there is more and more information coming out showing that our ancestors did not eat as much meat as they think they once did.
Right.
It was still a luxury. It was still something that they did on occasion. It was not like that was not their only source of protein. Even all the way back to you look at gladiators, gladiators in the Colosseum. While yes, most of them were slaves, which is a whole other discussion. Most of them, they were called barley men because they ate wheat and barley. They were not fighting and
Yeah.
being these glamorous gladiators by consuming dead animals. It
Right.
just
100%.
it's been incredible.
Yeah, and it
So
would really be cool. I know many of us would just love to see the time lapse of the evolution of man, and what we did really do, and of course glamorized, because I mean, I don't know if you saw Dances with Wolves. When I was
Yeah.
young, I watched that movie, and there was many times in my life that I would have vegan. I would have definitely become vegan many times over in my life because there's little tidbits, there's those little seeds, and Dances with Wolves was one of them in a lot of ways because of just I was more disgusted at my own race. Being a mix, but a lot of I'm highly Caucasian, right? We're all like Heinz 57 in a way, but I just was so disgusted. Like here we are coming over the colonials and killing buffalo just for their hides. If that was true, which I would imagine 100% it would be, right? Because the fur
Yeah.
trade is huge, and just the disrespect. So that's another thing is we're so in a lot of ways just so gluttonous as a species, and I don't really necessarily think that it's our fault. It's programmed into us in a lot of ways.
It absolutely is programmed into us. And you brought up a couple points there that, there are those seeds along the way. So, I asked the question, what is the last thing? Like, what was the last straw? And for you,
Yeah,
health kind of started your journey and looking into that. And for you, the last straw was watching Earthlings, which they call that the vegan maker, which I think is
right.
hilarious.
Yeah,
But that's a film by Sean Munson, and I appreciate what, the work that he does. But someone that works with him closely is Bobby Sudd, who I heard Bobby talking about this one day, and Bobby said, there's not, it's not one thing that makes you go vegan. There's just that one thing that's the last thing.
right.
So through, when we were kids, we wanted to be kind to animals. We were
Right.
told, taught to be kind to animals, to respect animals. Even, people who have never done it, who have never grown up hunting, as my dad would tell us that, even though we're taking the life of this animal, we're going to be kind to this animal. We're going to respect this animal. Now, obviously, looking at those things don't correlate, but that's the mentality behind it.
To make
Um,
ourselves feel better about it.
yes, absolutely. So, you got these things, planted along the way, and then finally there's that one last thing. It's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I'm done. I can't do that anymore.
right.
Um,
I heard it called like a point system. Somebody, I think it might have been that vegan couple, um, that they're YouTubers and activists, and I think they had talked about the point system. We all have 100 point system, and over time, eventually we get to that 100 points where we say like maybe you watch Earthlings with a close friend that's a vegan you
mhm.
really love and care about. Maybe that's worth 40 points or 50 points, so you're halfway there, right? So really interesting. Same kind of analogy. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a point if our hearts are open. There's some people, 100%, they're closed off. They always will be. They never will, right? Open their minds, and in a way, it's really exciting in a lot of ways because I feel like it's going to have to go plant based, and it'll be happening right before our very eyes like it is right now, the different options, because we just can't sustain going the way that if the
No.
data is
Yeah.
real, the data is true, because here we are, we're all little people watching our TV. You watch a documentary and you're like, oh my gosh, documentaries really can plant seeds, can really sway you. So if it is real, which why would they lie? You watch something like Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy as well. Sure, it's biased, but it's also really interesting. Why are these environmental protection agencies not wanting to have the conversations?
No, they don't. They don't want to have those conversations because, from an environmental standpoint,
Yeah,
animal agriculture is destroying this planet, brother. Um, it's
100%.
and the more information that you start reading, the more you're like, oh my god, why didn't I see this sooner?
Right.
Why wasn't I interested in this sooner? And
Mm.
for me, my wife and I, when we went on our first date, we talked about this. And I said, there's no way I could ever be vegan. And she said, no, I could. She said, I could be vegetarian, but I could never be vegan either. And then, lo and behold,
Here you guys
she's,
are.
here we are. And,
I love it.
we've been in this for about a little over 5 years now. And
Yeah.
it's been an
I
incredible
never
journey.
wanted I was right with you, man. I never wanted to be, I had some friends that we called them food snobs. We're like, oh, here comes the food snobs are coming to the potluck, or
Yep.
the barbecue. And they were, looking back, they were vegan, and I was like, oh, their cashew cheese. We're kind of laughing under our breath. I would eat their mushrooms. I'm like, oh, these are actually pretty good stuffed mushrooms, right? And it's interesting though, looking back, like, yeah, they were, and of course, there's people who have been plant based all through millennia
Sure.
of human history. They just now it's definitely come to the point where, like, man, we have to get stuff like this out, information out. Like, for dudes, your flagpole's gonna fly, full mast when you have good blood flow.
That's
And,
right.
of course, that's getting that saturated fat down. It's really interesting, all the different aspects. Some people come in for health. Some people come in for the animals solely. And, those are the junk food vegans, right? You always know if they're in it for the animals, not necessarily in it for themselves. And Gary Yarovsky, that was another really powerful YouTube that I watched pretty
Oh
much the
yeah.
same day after Earthlings. And that just solidified it for me. I was like, okay, this is 100%. Like, there's no need necessarily, but, and making that connection. Oh, this is because what? A bunch of dead relatives, started a tradition that I have to follow, or because it tastes delicious, right? Because of the loads of salt that's in it, and the fat, and it's a no brainer, realistically. And then, of course, when you find out you can get everything you need, of course, there are a lot of people who. It's interesting, like, the concept of doing it wrong. Can you do it wrong? Yeah, you could do any diet wrong, and it's going to cause health problems, right? Like, look at the SAD diet, the standard American, or this,
Yeah.
the standard domesticated diet. Like, you could do that wrong by just eating a bunch of fast food, and look what happens. Looks what's happening to some people. They want to change, but they can't stop eating. It's incredible. So it is just, it's baffling in a lot of ways that there are so many people like we were. There's no way. There wasn't a
Yep.
chance that I would be vegan.
No
It was
way.
ridiculous.
I had friends who they would go to lunch, and a bunch of us would go every day. But anytime they went to this one particular restaurant that had all kinds of vegan and vegetarian options, I was like, I'm not going to that foo place. And I would go someplace else every time. And it wasn't until we went vegan that we finally went to that place. And it's like, damn, I've been missing out on all this good food the whole time.
Right.
So,
Super good food, and it's creative. There's a
yes.
lot of really chefy people. There's definitely different creations. And of course, there's a lot of foods that are vegan by default, like, Oreos and Pringles or whatever, right? Fritos.
Apples,
Yeah,
French
apples.
fries.
Yeah, apples.
Like,
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting.
it's definitely interesting, and that shift that so many people have, like you and I have. How did like your friends and your family respond when you were like, you know what, I am going to start making some changes in my life?
Oh man. Well, with my ex, at the time we were together, she, man, she shed tears. She was just like distraught because our lives would revolve around barbecues
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Getting together, we'd have like we were brewers, a little pony keg of, our special craft beer, and, tri-tip, and, some backstrap, and all, just all these different cuts we were into, the cuts of the body. Like, what body part do you really enjoy? But it was, no, it was intense. Cause it's like almost, I would say, just for, to be funny, like, it's almost easier to change your religion than it is your diet.
I think less people would be offended.
Yeah, right. So yeah, there was that. My parents necessarily didn't really, more of like thought it was like a phase. But the way that my story goes, of course, it was my mom that really, had to about face because of her kidney cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course, after she reversed her kidney cancer, she had one kidney removed, and then switched her diet and lifestyle after she got kidney or cancer in her other kidney. And that's when we were like, let's send you to Gerson. There's some natural ways that you could very possibly do this. Let's try that before you get your other kidney removed, because we only have two kidneys and they filter
Yep.
our blood. And if you lose both of them, you're on a dialysis machine, which basically you have to sit there and, it sucks your blood out and it filters your blood for you. It's kind of like a life sentence.
Yeah.
It's no way to live. So she really started to learn about food and how much it affects us. And she, of course, was really sad because she's like, I just didn't know any better, and I really wish that I wouldn't have raised you guys the way that I did. Right. So her awakening, spawned also my youngest son, who was 11 at the time, to go vegan. He didn't want cancer. He was scared.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want
Yeah.
cancer. I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm not going to eat gluten, and I'm not going to eat animal products. I don't want any of this stuff. And yeah. And at that point, then my oldest son eventually went vegan, and my 11-year-old, he was in a small school, Rogue River, Oregon. There's only like 400 kids in the high school. He was the only boy that was vegan. I think he was the only vegan, and he was a boy.
Wow.
Which you would, I don't know, for whatever reason, stereotypical think it would be a female, right? Because women, of course, young women especially too, have like very big hearts. They
Yes.
want to care for their dolls and that kind of stuff, right? So incredibly proud that he stayed vegan throughout his entire high school years, the only vegan in the school. And it's funny, but for lack of a better word, it's not funny. But there's always people that make fun of vegans being sickly and skinny and have teeth problems, losing their hair, or they're fat. And it's like, look around, everybody's got that problem. Like it doesn't matter what diet you follow. There's skinny people, there's fat people,
Yes.
people with bad teeth, and people with no hair. Like, come on, you can't blame the food. Don't blame the food.
No.
So that's I feel like the part that I get frustrated with the most is watching people, especially in the raw vegan niche, which I really can't stand this niche in a lot of ways, just from watching how people basically, I feel like there's a lot of people that suffer from eating disorders and they mask it with raw veganism or cleansing, detoxing, juicing, and they undereat, they restrict, and then they basically wreck their gut and they're in dire straits. They can't digest their microbiome. Their gut flora is so messed up they can't eat even a piece of a cucumber without having a stomach ache, right? Basically decimating their gut flora, and then they go back to eating animal products.
Yeah, they blame it on
Their own silliness, their
Yeah.
own stupidity. They're not taking responsibility. They'll blame the diet. It's like, don't blame the food. You need to, if our body is, which it is, a multi-gazillion dollar Maserati, right? Like, come on. We got to treat it right. We should know what's going in. We should know the amount that's going in. These kinds of things. But of course, look at how our society has switched. Like from
Yeah.
our parents' generation, the baby boomers, they kind of steered away from, because of after the wars, the supermarkets started, the canned goods started coming out, the boxed foods. Our grandparents used to garden and can and ferment. And then the baby boomers kind of got stuck on the convenience of the supermarket.
Yep.
And then here we are with television and, Sigmund Freud and his, mental mind works on how you can make people feel, incompetent or unworthy unless you buy the shoe or eat the stuff or smoke the cigarette, right? So it's incredible where we have come and how fast things are really getting jacked up. And yeah, we got to make a change. And it's very simple. And that's what Lissa, my wife, and I, were really passionate about showing people. Like, look, you don't have to be a raw vegan to enjoy raw food, right? And,
Yeah.
just, put on a different pair of perspectives, different pair of lenses, and just look at the animals as cut up individuals. Like their souls, they bleed blood. They have their social systems, their social networks. They're very intelligent animals. Like we all have dogs, cats, horses, maybe birds, a snake, a rabbit, a rat, a ferret. Like we love these animals, like
Yes.
incredibly. And so how is it that we can't see the other animals that way? But it's because of how we've been programmed. for so long. Like, and so we have like a lot of basic unschooling, unlearning to do, and that's hard, especially around every corner. Two burgers for $1,
Oh, yeah. I
or
mean, it's hard to compete with that.
yeah, or $12 for a bag of grapes. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Two pizzas for $5, pepperoni pizzas, or $6 for a bag of apples. What are you going to do?
And so many people don't realize that the meat and dairy industry are so subsidized by the
Yeah,
government. If they weren't, there's no way that McDonald's could sell a 99-cent cheeseburger.
yeah. I don't,
Um,
I don't remember what were we watching? We were listening. We drove out to Death Valley this last weekend
mhm.
because it was actually cooler in Death Valley than it was in Vegas.
Whew.
So we're like, let's get out to Death Valley, and we're listening to Earthling Ed's book. Um, Darn it, I'm at a loss for what the title is called. Um,
Um,
it-
you're gonna make me look it up now.
yeah. So we're listening to his book, and he's talking about the cheese and how much cheese we have. They say there's enough cheese in storage right now to basically build. I think it was like the White House out of
What?
cheese, solid cheese that we have like
Wow.
in reserves because there's so much byproduct, so much like almost like waste in a
Leftover.
way. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we do what we can do to make it happen.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I
That's
know.
crazy. So
So
his book is called This is Vegan Propaganda.
there it is. This is Vegan
So,
Propaganda. It is an incredible book, which is narrated. We did the audible, which
mhm.
is so nice to be able to drive, and it's
Oh yeah.
narrated by Ed Winters, which is so cool because he's got such a great demeanor.
Oh yeah. His delivery is just
Yeah,
effortless.
right.
Um, you hit on some points there talking about the things that we've been misled about, the way we were told that we have to eat meat, the way we have to have dairy to be big and strong, and people don't look at what happens to these animals, and they don't have compassion for other animals. And it's like, the easiest thing when I have someone who is arguing against veganism is to bring up how animals have the ability to suffer. So if you
Yeah,
kick a pig, that pig is going to respond because they don't want to be kicked. They don't deserve to be kicked. That hurts just as if you kicked your dog. And it's sad that that disconnect is so huge that um, no one gets upset,
yeah,
when they're eating bacon. But yet,
right,
if I said, "Oh, this is a fillet of Labrador," oh
right.
my God, people would lose their minds.
I remember
Um,
hearing Rowdy, Rowdy Renee.
yes,
Yeah,
Renee.
she had that story, and there's another film out there called Speciesism, and
I have not seen that one yet. I'll
it's
have to check
not
that
like
out.
it wasn't real huge. This young man made it, and it was done well. Like it almost looked like he just kind of did it off of like his iPhone or
Hmm.
something. But he hit some really good points, and it's really incredible that concept, speciesism. Like the truth is really uncomfortable, no matter what we're looking at. If we're looking at mental disorders, anorexia, bulimia, these sorts of eating disorders, all kinds of injustices that are going on, the truth hurts. And yeah, say watching something like that and understanding like how we are basically putting certain species above others, and we just have a lot of evolving to do. Like we have a long ways to go. Like I feel like in a lot of ways, how much stuff has changed in the last 100 years. We're really at like an infancy stage right now.
Yeah, and
In
even as vegans, there's still things that we can learn that have
oh
less
man,
impact on the environment. And so, I always say, we can all do better, and that's a fact.
yeah,
And anyone who thinks otherwise, that we can't do better, like you're just as close minded as some of these people who aren't even interested in starting their vegan journey.
right,
So, all right. So, a lot of people, you'll have people, to me, I think folks will start their vegan journey for, obviously, I love it when it's for the animals.
yeah,
But if it's for their health or if it's for the environment, so for like you, it was more a health related journey, which triggered the start of your journey. There's nothing wrong with that either. And I wholeheartedly support that, because even if someone isn't, if someone's not vegan. They're not there yet, but they're on that whole food plant based for their health.
Yeah.
They're having a much better impact, even if they haven't made that final ethical connection yet.
Nice.
I appreciate what they're doing. So now, some folks may not understand what raw veganism is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and your wife, you guys have a brand about you that, first off, I love what you guys put out, the content, the positivity, the just the color of the food. Man, you guys, like, I watch your stuff and I'm scrolling through your Instagrams and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so freaking hungry. I like, this is ridiculous. And Becky and I can't wait to come out to Vegas sometime and
Yeah.
enjoy a meal with you guys. Cause like,
Oh, we'd love to have you.
it's there's probably a lot of misinformation about raw veganism in particular, but you guys make it seem just so attainable, so interesting, so delicious, and so just joyful. It's like, damn, why wouldn't you want to do that too?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you guys, some of the things you do. I know you guys have sprouts that you guys got out going. You guys have, books upon books and recipes and the Ice Cream King. Like you guys, like, you cover the whole gambit and just absolutely love it.
Oh, thanks for that, Chris. I really appreciate it. It's interesting because, yeah, we have the stigmatism, with the word, vegan, and especially raw vegan. Like, I'll make a joke. Somebody could be eating an apple and be like, this apple is so delicious. And you could be like, that's raw vegan. And then they could put it down and look at it kind of sideways and be like, I thought it tasted kind of funny. You know, these negative connotations that we have towards certain words in our vocabulary. It's interesting, but yeah, raw veganism, man. The way that one thing that I really love is the concept that I learned from this guy, Marcus Rothkranz. Now, there's not everything that he's all about that I've necessarily prescribed to. I kind of like Bruce Lee's style, like listen to lots of people, take lots of different information, and kind of come up with your own thing that you really like.
Yeah.
But one thing really stuck with me that he said, which was you can take an apple and you could bury that apple and it would grow into an apple tree because of the seeds, right? But if you take that apple and you bake it in the oven, which if anybody who's listening out there has not had a baked apple, I highly recommend it. It's very amazing, especially with a little cinnamon and maybe some maple syrup or something. It's like basically like apple pie, right?
Yeah.
So, but you could not plant it after it's been baked and have it grow into a tree. You basically killed the life force, the enzymatic life force that's in the seed. You cooked it. So the concept of raw is keeping your food under a certain temperature. And like in the raw world, 115 degrees
Mhm.
Fahrenheit is like the magic number. And of course, there are studies that certain foods maybe improve, when they've been heat processed or cooked, like garlic or tomatoes, these
Sure.
sorts of things. But yeah, so raw basically is just eating the food the way that Mother Nature intended it for us to be. It's in its whole form. It's got all the fiber intact. And that's it. Yeah. And so when we look at like what we have in the plant kingdom, there's a lot. There's a lot of plants that we have access to in our grocery stores. It's really profound, especially when you start to learn different ways to prepare these plants. And of course, the best part is you're getting such a good high quality fiber, which is going to help our gut microbiome, which is going to make us in a better mood, better serotonin production, better digestion, elimination, all sorts of things just get so much more upgraded when we're consuming a, a large quantity of raw foods,
Yeah.
being like fruit for breakfast or, say maybe a smoothie blended up with the whole fruit. So you get the fiber, not necessarily, say juicing it where you're removing that fiber. But for people who have digestive issues, juices are nice because they don't contain a lot of fiber, so they don't really like upset your stomach. But so that's what we're all about. Lissa, my wife, Raw Food Romance, that's how I found her actually. I found her on YouTube looking into this raw food thing because my mom reversed her kidney cancer. I was like, Mom, I'm going to listen to you and do what you say. And
Yeah.
8 months go by, I never listened to her. And then I met this guy, John, skiing on a ski lift. and told him about the story of my mom working at the hospital. And he's, working at the coronary care unit at the time. And he's like, I told him about my mom reversing her cancer. And he's like, yep, I reversed my stage 4 colorectal cancer, which is the third leading cause of death this day and age, at the age of 42. And I've been a raw foodie ever since for 44 years. And I about
Wow.
choked. I'm like, you're 86 years old. We're on a Black Diamond run. And that right there was what was for me that really clicked. It's like, okay, I need to step my game up and go raw.
Yeah.
And I went home, binge watched YouTube, and found Lissa, Raw Food Romance. And I loved that name because it was like, I need to build a better relationship with my food. This makes sense. And I loved what she was talking about. And her pictures were amazing because she's a professional photographer by trade. And I'm like, you know what? I could eat that. Ooh,
Yeah.
I could eat that too, because we're one of the only species that can see in the red spectrum. So the colors of foods that we see, right? It's really incredible. We can see in the red spectrum. We can see when you're looking at even just produce at the store, we're picking out what looks best to us because we can actually see the color of that particular fruit, apple or an orange or, purple cabbage, whatnot, right? So the colors are so incredible, and we definitely, we love food. And the concept of that saying, you are what you eat, that guy John on the ski lift, he's like, well, if you are what you eat, what do you want to be, Nate? And I was like, I want to be alive, man. And he's like, well,
Yeah.
there you go. He's like, you should listen to your mom, Nate. At the end of the ski run or the lift, he took off his goggles, looked in my eyes, and was like, you should listen to your mom. Because I told him, I was like, yeah, I told my mom I'd listen to her and go raw. And yeah, man.
Think about what that's brought to your life. I mean,
Oh,
if we think about the health and that aspect is great, but then she brings Lissa into your life.
yeah.
Like had you not listened to him and made that conversation and had that connection,
I
who knows? So
those choose your own adventure books. Did you ever read those when you were a kid?
yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
We're
Like,
old enough that we remember
we're
those
old
kinds of
enough,
things.
bro. Yeah. So these choose your own adventure books, for listeners who may not know, it's a storybook, and you come up to a page, and the page says, hey, if you want to cross the bridge, then turn to page 56. If not, keep reading. So yeah, 100%, I would be on a completely different life path if I didn't take heed and listen to what he said, because I found Lissa that night, and God bless her, she was a content creator. She created content. She taught me how to build my raw kitchen.
Hmm.
She had a recipe book with 30 days worth of recipes, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, every single recipe being different. And also, the most important thing, showing the macros and micro breakdowns, so I knew that I was going to be adequately nourished
Yeah.
eating this way. So that right there is what spawned it for me. I just followed her meal plan. 8 months go by. I shed all kinds of weight just by default. People are tripping. I'm feeling amazing. And of course, in the same time, really making that ethical connection, because see, this
Yes.
is the thing, like veganism has nothing to do with diet at all.
Thank you
Has
for
nothing
saying
to,
that.
has nothing to do with diet, but diet plays a huge part in veganism. But so that was the thing. It was like, I like to go extreme. I like to get in deep and go down the rabbit holes. And I was like, oh, leather. Son of a, oh man, there's so many amazing things that I love out of leather.
Yeah,
I
that are
can't,
terrible.
I can't necessarily, after watching what happens, what I'm voting for with my dollar when I buy leather, and then come to find out, we like to do some rock climbing. And these rock climbing shoes, the really good ones are out of leather, but the synthetic leathers they're coming out now, unless you knew, there is no way you could tell the difference between these leathers.
It's incredible. Some of the innovation that is
Yeah,
driving this as well.
right. And that's what's so exciting, is like we're really finding out different ways to do things. And same with being a raw foodie. You're like, how can I make this maybe, kind of a simulate lasagna? I want some lasagna. Or how can I make something that's, crunchy? Or how could I do, some sort of nori wrapper, sushi that we used to have, with the raw fish, which
Yeah.
is so disgusting, especially when you look at, our waters or how these fish are even grown in pools. Like, we're not getting
Yeah.
natural. It's glamorized and romanticized and market it in such a beautiful way. But when you find out, if we have the gumption or whatever word I'm looking for, to watch these videos, watch these documentaries, watch the footage of people going in, and not to mention what these poor people have to go through working in these
Every
facilities
day. Yeah.
every single day, right? I mean, you can only imagine the PTSD. I mean, you and I both, as a hunter, as someone who fished, you have to shut off a certain part of yourself that is there
Yes.
to be able to go through with, right, cutting an animal up. And yeah, I mean, I caught my very first fish at 7 years old. I'll never forget it, on the Rogue River. And I was so excited I couldn't stop playing with that fish in the 5-gallon bucket. And then it came time to go up. My grandpa's like, "Let's go clean the fish." And I'm like, "What? Like, what are we
What
gonna
is it?
do?
What is that? That
Are we
sounds like
gonna
fun.
give are we gonna give it a bath? Like, it's in a bucket, of water." So we go up there and he guts it from anus to throat, and I lost it, bro. 7 years old. I would have been vegan that very moment. I was like, I ran to the bathroom, was punching myself in the head, so mad that I killed that fish. The first trauma was watching my grandpa take the hook out and the fish is bleeding. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, I hurt the fish. This is horrible. This isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. Having it on the line and having it wiggle, that's an adrenaline rush. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you got one on, fish on." Everybody's screaming,
Yep.
you're reeling it in. But if that was like the rest of the night, Chris, I was given the talk, right? This is what men do.
This is the way it is.
This is the way it works. This is the circle of life. This is how
Yep.
you provide for your own. You're the man. Even my aunt and mom were siding with. My grandma didn't say anything. My grandma, I remember, like, she didn't say anything, and I kind of feel like, man, it would have been so cool to, like, know what was on her mind, because she probably was also, maybe had that heart. Was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, the poor kid, he, doesn't." I couldn't eat that fish. I couldn't eat fish for the longest time, bro. It
That
was,
it's sad how we grind that compassion out of kids.
yeah, I was
And
shut up. I
oh
was
yeah.
like, from that point on, I could not show that kind of emotion. That's not what men do. Here I am, 7 years old. So that was my very first experience. Then, of course, I watched Disney movies growing up. Like, there's a
Hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
little, Bambi and Fox and the Hound. Like, these are all right. Like, all like Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio, right? Like, there's so much. Little Mermaid, and my brother and sisters were little. Like, there's so many vegan droplets in there, right? But it's interesting because we're so in these cartoons too. You remember, like, maybe the king or whatever, they're just like sloppy, gluttonous,
Almost
fat,
every time.
and they're just eating the big old turkey leg with
Hmm.
the stein of ale, and that wasn't, as a kid, you're more like drawn to hanging out with the animals, talking to the animal, like the Sword and the Stone, I think it was. Remember that, where he turns into different animals in that movie,
Yes.
like with the wizard. I mean, incredible. Who wouldn't want to have that kind of connection? Or say when the movie Avatar came out, the connection that we have with these animals. And in the beginning, remember that when he was fighting off all those like dog slash cat things, and that's when he had his first encounter with uh, Navi or whatever her name was, and she had to kill that one that was going to kill him, and he was like, "Thank you." Right? This is, and she got mad. She's all, "This is not good." Right? This is sad. It was like, ooh, that was so powerful. The emotion that, and of course James Cameron, right? Vegan. That whole set was
Can't
vegan.
can't wait for the second one. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that connection, when you have that with animals, and once you make that connection, is very powerful.
Yeah.
But for some reason, especially men, we talked about it earlier, that your son being the only vegan in high school,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, this movement is like 70% female,
Yeah.
30% male, and it's like, why are the men so closed-minded to this? And I will wholeheartedly admit that I was.
Yeah.
I was completely closed-minded to this. So we've got to figure out how to get more men to wake up to lead their families differently
It's
than
it's
the
so
way we
sad.
were raised.
It's so sad too, bro. Like, to see certain, like, like more well-known influencers that go back to eating animal products and then they become like anti-vegan
Hmm.
and start really speaking bad about like it's like it's baffling. Like how were you calling yourself a vegan? Because really it's like in a way, I mean, I could see how certain people would think it's be a cult or a religion because I like picture, I don't know, like Satanism or something, like once you leave Satanism, you're not going to go back, or whatever, right? Like,
No.
and of course the concepts of Satanism are really interesting too. I've kind of dug into that belief system, just to like, what is it? I'm very curious individual. So, and I feel that there's a lot of people that are, they're more scared. They don't want to break up their friendship circles. It is hard. I don't hang out with any of the individuals that I grew up with, and it's funny because if I reach out and say, "Yo, I was just thinking of you, I miss you, man," they say, you know, they always bring up my diet. They're like, I could never do what you do, Nate, but I still have to have my venison, but I like vegetables, and I'm like, bro, I just called to say I was missing you, like we don't need to. I was actually just watched a video of Tool, and I was thinking of that one time we went to that Tool concert back in '95, like, and why are you bringing up, bell peppers? That's
I think it's their subconscious because
right.
there's part of them that feels guilty for the way they
Yeah,
abuse animals.
100%, 100%. And yeah, there's in a lot of ways, like, yeah, we could definitely do better. Like my friends, I'm like, yo, man, if you just ate 70% raw, 60 to 70% raw, 30 to 35%, cooked whole food, plant based, low oil, low salt, and maybe you have like 5% left over for going out and having a beer, maybe you hit Taco Bell or something, like it's not
Sure.
going to be the end of the world. You're going to do a lot better for yourself and the planet and the animals and your neighbor, and our future generations by just cutting it down, but of course we know how that works. It's a slippery slope. Next thing you
Absolutely.
know, you're back to eating, schnitzels 3 times a week or whatever, right? So abstinence is easier than perfect moderation in a lot of ways.
You were talking about these celebrities who come out that they're vegan, and it's almost like some of them are just wanting to have some kind of notoriety, and then they go back to eating animals and, like you said, bashing vegans.
Yeah.
I heard an interesting conversation the other day, and James Clapper was talking about why some people struggle going vegan overnight. And
Mhm.
the reason behind that is because, for let's say for like you and I, for 40 years of our life, we've been getting certain nutrients. So let's say the one example he gave was creatine. So your
Mhm.
body naturally produces creatine, but if you've been getting that from another source, so from animals, 3 meals a day for 40 years, your body's like, you know what? I don't need to produce that much. And then as soon as you remove that from your diet, from your life, your body like freaks out to a point, and some people struggle with that. So some people they have to have it more of a journey, and to do it the right way. But I think there are so many people that, like you said, in the raw niche, that they go so far one way that they're not eating even healthy that way, that they can't even eat a cucumber, like you said. So
Right.
it's a slippery slope. But
Yeah.
so, Nate, what can people do to reach you? Where can they find you? Where can they find some of your books? Where can they find some of the stuff that you put out there? Because, like, I'm not kidding. If anyone has ever scrolled through Raw Natty Nate's Instagram and look at these pictures of the food him and his wife make, if that doesn't make you hungry or doesn't make you raw curious, I don't know what the hell is wrong. I don't know what else will. So, like, let everyone know where they can find you, what you guys have going on, and anything that you can provide for folks, because the content that you guys put out there is, it's just I love it. It's positive and it's beautiful, man. I absolutely love it.
Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate that, bro. Yeah, and we're not elitists over here in the raw vegan community. We want everybody to get a taste of what raw food can taste like. We're not just eating iceberg lettuce with a Roma tomato with an avocado on top. Like that's delicious too. A little tahini and hot sauce on top. That's kind of our lazy night salad, But yeah, I mean, food is fun. It should be enjoyed. It should be, really respected in a lot of ways because it's how we fuel this body that we get to experience this life. And we just want to make it fun, right? Fun and attainable, like you said, to everybody. Like you don't have to be a vegan. You don't have to be a raw vegan. You don't have to be vegetarian to enjoy eating like, fresh fruits and vegetables are raw and they are vegan because there's no animal products, in them, right? It's grown. It's the way Mother Nature
Yes.
intended. Mother Nature knows best, and she is our mother. She wants the best for us. We have everything that we could ever need to thrive as a human with what she produces. And cultivating is something that we're really big into. And I know you mentioned a little bit back, sprouting seeds is a great way to get going, adding more, superfoods. The most amazing micronutrients sprouts and microgreens have, up to 20 times more than the fully mature counterpart.
That's
And
awesome.
you're harvesting in anywhere from a few days to, at most 2 weeks. And for people who don't have green thumbs or don't have a garden, maybe they live in an apartment building, these are things you can grow yourself super simply, really fun for anybody growing because it's exciting how fast they grow, and it's especially fun for the kids, as well as fermenting vegetables. Of course, we're vegan. There's lots of ferments in our day and age. There's different kinds of pickled things and, alcohol and cheeses. These are all fermented foods. But fermenting vegetables is something we're really into as well. And all of the books that we have, Instagram is where we're most active. My name is Raw Natty Nate, RAWNATTYN number 8, Raw Natty Nate. And I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter. I'm not super active on a lot of those platforms as much as I am on Instagram. And my wife, you can find her link through my page on Instagram, Raw Food Romance. You can go to her website that way. We have a meal planning app. So for those individuals who want to try this out, want to make sure you're getting nutrition needs met, we have a meal planner app with your grocery list, your caloric breakdown. We add 6 new recipes every month, 2
Wow.
breakfasts, 2 lunches, and 2 dinners. $5 a month for our app so that you don't have to think. You just follow the list, go to the store, make the food, eat it. You're going to feel good.
And enjoy it.
And enjoy it. Yeah. And so our books can be found through the links on our YouTube pages, as well as Instagram. Those are the best ways to, find the different books that we have. I've got 3 books. My first one, actually, I've got 4 out there. I've got a little book called Nice Cream Forever, and it's kind of my story as well as, like how it all began, and also recipes, some nice cream recipes. And I've got another book called Dude Food, and
Yes.
I call our little gut microbiome, the gut flora that we have, the bacteria. Which, get this, we are made up of like 95.5% bacteria, microbial bacteria. Only like 0.5% human DNA. This is what, research is showing. Like we're more microbes than we are human, which is really incredible. So, um, I don't know. I spaced on where I was going with that, but either way, yeah, the books, Dude Food, there it is, Dude Food.
Dude
So I
food.
call the gut microbiome, the little gut bugs that we have, our little dudes, and we want to feed those dudes, and what they like the most is raw plant fibers. So that's really an important aspect to what that book's all about is just building a healthy gut microbiome through delicious foods, smoothies, salads, different entrees, and ice cream. And it's a choose your own adventure meal plan. You don't follow any particular day. You can do whatever you want. You can mix and match. I've kind of got like how to work the book in there. And another book that I have is called Alive. And I know there's like several books out there called Alive, but Alive is all about sprouting and growing microgreens and the benefits and power that these little plants hold. And then I've got a video course called Sprouts, Krauts, and Microgreens, and Krauts being short for sauerkraut, not the name that is used, I think, over in the UK, calling people, kraut is something.
Yeah.
Either way, Sprouts, Krauts, and Microgreens, full video course. So, anybody who is into cultivating these foods, you just follow along, and by the end of it, you'll be like growing like a pro. That's something I'm really passionate about, growing microgreens and sprouting, because they're living foods. They're actually alive when you ingest them.
Yeah.
And when we start digging into what these little plants offer, it is absolutely incredible. They grow so fast, right? And of course, it's empowering because you're growing your own food. And then my wife's books, she's got like 10 books. The meal plans, there's volume 1, 2, and 3. Plant-based dips and dressings. She's got a burger book, like, I don't even know, I think 77 different burgers, all raw. She's got a soup, stews, and curry book. Like she is definitely a real creative, and she's got a major gift for being able to just make things taste absolutely delicious. Everything that we do is raw. So we really just try to geek out in that area. But yeah, come check us out. Whoever's listening in, try some raw foods. I don't know if you have raw food restaurants in your area, go support them, go try something raw. What we really strive to do is not use any oil or any added salt or, processed sugars. We use, natural sugars like from dates or figs or apricots. And it's just really fun. It's really fun. That's really, as a guy who loves the outdoors and who really cherished his mornings out on the river fishing, like I have so much fun creating food, that is serving me rather than, not serving me. So yeah, that's where we're at, man. We're kind of all over. We're trying to put out as much content as we can, and we like to play the game, the whole social media game. It's a game, we got to just
100%. Yeah.
keep creating content, just like watching you grow, bro. It's so nice to see you over 10K now. It's like, yes, finally. And yeah, we have a lot of work to do, man. And I feel like it's a really exciting time to be alive because everybody's, everybody's evolving and growing no matter what diet or lifestyle they follow in a lot of ways. But I love the waves that are being made within this movement of shifting towards a more compassionate, way of life. And yeah, if the data is real, like we have no choice. We can't anymore. We cannot sustain the way that we are. So it's like, jump on now or be forced to later because it's just, I don't see how we, unless very possibly, and this would be a topic for another podcast, who knows what the earth has seen? How many times has human evolution been very possibly where we are at now or even more advanced and we wiped ourselves out? We don't know. Earth's forbidden secrets, right? Like we do not know.
There's a lot that we don't know and we're still learning. And, but yeah, you'll get no argument out of me that if we don't continue to evolve and make better choices and make better decisions, there's no question which path we're currently led down.
No, it's mental, absolutely mental where we're at and the way that we are conducting ourselves. I never was a big Trekkie until I met my wife, Lissa, and she's a hardcore Trekkie. And that show, we've watched all the different offshoots and different movies, and it is incredible. And there's a lot of actual cast members that are vegan. And
yes.
I love the aspect of, the Vulcan, like Spock or Tuvok in the Next Gen is like, it's illogical. It's just, Like, let's use logic here. But of course they had the replicators. So if they wanted to have a turkey, they could replicate it. Right. And of course, the vegan argument, for the meat eaters, they're like, well, why would you want to replicate something that, is like, it was like, well, hey, I didn't stop eating the animals because I didn't like the way they tasted, which is
Yes.
disgusting. It's disgusting in a real way. Like, how are we designed to basically, like, in a way, thirst for, but in that same breath, most all animal products that we're eating are loaded with oil and salt. It's just another delivery system for seasonings and oil and salt. Like tri-tip, the only thing that I would rub on the tri-tip would be salt. And if it wasn't for that, I didn't like doing barbecue sauce. But see, I wasn't just eating it plain. Nobody eats it plain, right? So,
No,
and
nobody does.
we don't like hair in our mouth. So, it's just interesting when we do make that connection now. Shopping for us, especially as a raw vegan, man, we're in and out so fast. Like, we just hit the produce, maybe the bulk section, and we're out. Like, there's nothing else in the store, like it's all just filler and food-like products. There's nothing in there. All it is in the vegetable and produce section.
And that makes it so much easier. So, like,
Nuts and seeds.
less
Yeah,
excuses to not do this.
totally.
So,
Really.
Nate, I want to very much thank you for your time coming on, talking to me. It's always good to talk to you. Anytime we have conversations, I appreciate your depth of knowledge and, your willingness to share that journey with everyone. And, you said that you and your wife really enjoy what you're doing and have fun making food. And I really think that comes across in the social media that you guys put out there because, I see the love you guys have for each other, the love for what you guys are doing, the love for the food. And man, I just, it's who you are. It's who I see you guys as. And I hope others will follow you guys and, give some things, new things, a try. There's nothing wrong with trying something new, and you may find a new way to fall in love with food all over again.
100%, Chris. Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, such an honor. I always love rapping with you. And, of course, many more to come. This is, like I said, man, we've got a lot of work to do. It's good work. And, hopefully this podcast could add to someone's point system if they haven't already made the switch.
That is an interesting way to look at that. And I know who you're talking about, but I
Yeah.
have not heard of that 100-point system. But I want to
Yeah.
check that out.
He's like, everybody has 100-point system.
That's a cool concept. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, some people may take 20 years. Some people may just take like one conversation.
Boom.
So that's what I really, really appreciate about you, Chris. And that's why I like to repost your stuff when I see it come up. It's really good. That's something that I don't really feel is talked about a lot in the raw vegan niche. And I want to definitely be one of those voices that is, trying to help people make that ethical connection.
Yes. That's
right?
so
And
important.
let's eat raw for our health and eat good whole food plant-based diets for our health, but let's be vegan for these animals and of course the other things that we don't necessarily think about, which we didn't really talk about, like the silkworms and the honeybees. And it's interesting, wool. And of course, we're real outdoorsy. There's the merino wool thing. These are topics we could go on a whole nother podcast on. So yeah, definitely. Whoever is listening in, man, yeah, peek into how you could switch it up, because we can all be a part of this amazing shift. And it is shifting, like with or without people. There's no stopping this. 100%.
I couldn't agree more, my friend. Well, I hope you know how much I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking to you again. And if this takes off and I actually have more episodes to come, I'd love to have you on. I'd love to have your wife on sometime and share her journey, because her transition was very powerful, and what
Yeah,
started the catalyst for Raw Food Romance. Like, just absolutely incredible.
absolutely. Oh,
So.
bro, we're totally on. And keep it going, Chris. I know there's going to be a lot of people you reach out to, that would, I'm sure, just, get the message out. We all have this, there's a lot of people who have that fire in them that are like, hey, let's share what clicked with me. Why am I weird?
And I think that's why I wanted to share, people's why. Different people need different messaging to make that connection. And for
100%.
me, I want to bring folks on, let them share their why, let them share what they're into, let them share what their passion is, and hopefully somewhere along the line someone picks up on one of these episodes and starts their journey too and finds their why. So
Absolutely. It
brother,
will do. It will.
that would be awesome. And more importantly, getting more folks to start their journey is the name of the game right now. So
That's it.
I appreciate you, brother. And I will talk to you again at another time. But you be good.
Likewise.
And
Yeah, tell Becky and the fam we say hello. Love you guys. And yeah, until next time, bro.
we'll do. Be good.
All right, peace.
So that was Nate Maris, Raw Natty Nate on Instagram. I appreciate his time joining me today. It's always good to talk to Nate. He and I have connected on a level that, it's funny. We haven't been in the same room together, but we are in the same space and we're in the same time. And just really appreciate his energy, his positivity, his spin on things, his wealth of knowledge, and just can't say enough about Nate and his wife, Lissa, what they do and the content they put out there. So thanks for tuning in for the first episode of How It All Began. And I will get this up as soon as I can. And I would love some feedback from anyone who catches some of these episodes, what you'd like to hear, what you didn't like, some things that we can do to improve it. So, the ultimate goal is to be able to plant seeds and encourage other people to start their journey. So you all have a good one, and I'm out.